When visualizing and analyzing a portion of the data from TALIS 2024 results, copyright OECD 2024 on the national comparison of TALIS AI utilization across 8 educational fields using R, the following is observed. Efficiently learning and summarizing topics. South Korea, at 50.4%, is 22.2 percentage points lower than the TALIS average of 72.6%, 17.5 pp lower than the OECD average of 67.9%, and 15.0 pp lower than the EU average of 65.4%. South Korea recorded the lowest figure among the 4 comparison groups. This shows that Korean teachers are passive in using automated learning support tools like AI-powered learning summaries or topic organization, falling significantly short of the international average even in the basic utilization area of efficient information processing and summarization via AI suggests that Korean teachers lack familiarity with or trust in AI tools themselves, or have a strong preference for traditional teaching methods. Creating lesson plans or activities. South Korea, at 58.3%, is 11.1 pp lower than the TALIS average of 69.4%, 5.4 pp lower than the OECD average of 63.7%, and 5.6 pp lower than the EU average of 63.9%. South Korea is still the lowest among the 4. But the gap with the international average is relatively smaller than in Item 1. Korean teachers show a comparatively receptive attitude towards using AI for the efficiency of lesson preparation tasks. Since creating lesson plans and activities is a practical area that reduces the administrative burden on teachers, Korean teachers are also relatively active in using AI tools in this field. However, it still does not reach the international average. Automatically adjusting the difficulty of learning materials to student needs. South Korea, at 29.4%, is 17.3 pp lower than the TALIS average of 46.7%, 8.0 pp lower than the OECD average of 37.4%, and 10.0 pp lower than the EU average of 39.4%. This is the area where Korea shows the second lowest utilization rate among the 8 fields, after Item 5, supporting students with special educational needs. Korean teachers are very passive in using AI for individualized, customized learning support, especially in adjusting the difficulty of learning materials for each student. This shows that whole group, uniform teaching methods are still dominant in the Korean educational field, and there is a lack of awareness or practice of differentiated education tailored to each student's level. There is a structural resistance to acknowledging differences among students and providing individualized education accordingly. Helping practice skills in real-life scenarios. South Korea, at 51.2%, is 4.9 pp higher than the OECD average of 46.3%, 2.6 pp higher than the EU average of 48.6%, and 3.1 pp lower than the TALIS average of 54.3%. In this area, South Korea surpasses the OECD and EU averages and is close to the TALIS average. In the practical, problem-solving learning area of practicing skills through real-life scenarios, Korean teachers also use AI at an international average level. This can be seen as a reflection of the Korean education community's interest in competency-based education and real-life application learning. Supporting students with special educational needs. South Korea, at an extremely low 9.2%, is 32.4 pp lower than the TALIS average of 41.6%, 25.7 pp lower than the OECD average of 34.9%, and 30.3 pp lower than the EU average of 39.5%. South Korea shows by far the lowest utilization rate in this area among the 8 fields. Korean teachers are so passive in using AI to support students with special educational needs or those from vulnerable groups that they can be seen as almost indifferent. This is the most shocking indicator showing that Korean education has structural limitations regarding inclusive education and differentiated support. In the Korean educational field, a uniform approach of treating students with special educational needs the same as general students is still dominant, and there is a lack of awareness of the need for individualized support itself. Evaluating/grading student assignments. South Korea, at 30.7%, is 5.2 pp higher than the OECD average of 25.5% and 4.7 pp higher than the EU average of 26.0%, but 4.0 pp lower than the TRALIS average of 34.7%. South Korea surpasses the OECD and EU averages in this area. In repetitive, administrative tasks like evaluation and grading, Korean teachers are relatively active in using AI. This shows that Korean teachers have a receptive attitude towards AI as an automation tool to reduce their workload. The use of AI is spreading in terms of increasing the efficiency of simple, repetitive tasks. Generating text for feedback/communication. South Korea, at 42.3%, is 10.0 pp higher than the OECD average of 32.3%, 11.4 pp higher than the EU average of 30.9%, and 0.5 pp higher than the TRALIS average of 41.8%. South Korea surpasses all international averages in this field. Korean teachers are very active in automatically generating text for student feedback or communication with parents. This suggests that Korean teachers feel a significant burden in communication tasks, especially dealing with parents or writing administrative reports, and are open to automation through AI. AI tools are being rapidly adopted for external tasks like communication and feedback. Reviewing student data. South Korea, at 37.2%, is 11.9 pp higher than the OECD average of 25.3%, 7.8 pp higher than the EU average of 29.4%, and almost identical to the TALIS average of 37.1%. South Korea significantly surpasses the OECD and EU averages in this field and is on par with the TALIS average. Korean teachers are more active than the international average in using AI to analyze and review student data. This shows that Korean education is friendly to database decision-making and objective numerical analysis, and has a high interest in monitoring student performance. The use of AI is active in administrative and managerial tasks like data analysis. Differences among the 8 fields and their implications. Looking at the AI utilization patterns of Korean teachers across the 8 fields, 2 main characteristics emerge. First, they are at or even more active than the international average in the administrative and supportive use of AI, lesson planning, feedback generation, data review, assignment grading. Notably, in fields 6, 7, and 8, South Korea surpasses both the OECD and EU averages. Second, they lag far behind the international average in AI utilization related to individualized and customized education, automatic difficulty adjustment, support for special educational needs. Particularly in fields 3 and 5, South Korea shows remarkably low figures. This difference reflects the structural characteristics of Korean education. Korean teachers actively use AI for instrumental purposes like work efficiency, automation of repetitive tasks, and data management, but they hardly use it as a tool for fundamental educational innovation that acknowledges individual student differences and provides differentiated education accordingly. The Korean classroom is still within the structural constraints of uniformity and collectivism, and there is a cultural and institutional resistance to acknowledging student differences themselves. What is particularly noteworthy is that while South Korea is at or above the international average in reviewing student data, 37.2%, it is extremely passive in adjusting the difficulty of learning materials based on that data, 29.4%, or supporting students with special educational needs, 9.2%. This means that Korean education shows a contradictory attitude of diagnosing but not intervening, looking at data but not teaching differently based on it. It identifies differences among students but refuses to provide differentiated support to address those differences. From an international comparison perspective, South Korea is similar to or higher than the OECD/EU average in fields 2, 6, 7, and 8, but significantly lower than all international averages in fields 1, 3, and 5. In particular, support for special educational needs, 9.2%, is only a quarter of the OECD average, 34.9%, and a fifth of the TALIS average, 41.6%. This shows that despite being an ICT infrastructure powerhouse with a high interest in data analysis, South Korea has the most uniform and differentiation-resistant system in its educational philosophy and practice. Policy implications. In Korean education, the adoption of AI is already spreading in its simple administrative automation aspect, but it is very insufficient in terms of true student-customized education and inclusivity. For AI utilization to lead to genuine educational innovation, the cycle of diagnosis-intervention support must be completed. Currently, South Korea is active in diagnosis, data review, but extremely passive in intervention, difficulty adjustment, support for special needs education. For the spread of educational AI to create meaningful change, it is urgent to improve teacher awareness of individualized education and support for special needs, to make a philosophical shift to recognize that differentiated education is not inequality but true equity, and to expand institutional support to back this up.